Okay, here we are, part two. Now, one of the things that my subscriber asked me about was Pink Floyd. He said that he's had a lot of different Pink Floyd records, but he's never been able to find one that really sounded fantastic. He's got the CD, got a Japanese CD, and he said that's the one he listens to because it sounds the best of anything he's tried. Even the new reissue, the one that, the EMI that came out. But yeah, this is the big daddy right here of all the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon records. This Pro U series. They're pricey, they always have been. But if you shop on eBay, you shop enough, you should be able to find a really nice one for about $100. That's what you're gonna have to. If you want to get the best one there is, this is it. And of course they got them on there now for $150, $200. But if you wait and you shop, eventually you'll find one. You probably get it for about $100. But this is the big daddy of them all. When I bought the new reissue from EMI, I compared the two, and a lot of times when you're comparing pressings, your memory, it's got a hard time really remembering exactly what that sound was. So what I do, I usually put the record on and I play it a couple times, kind of get a good idea what the sound is, and then I put the other one on that I'm comparing. And unless it's night and day difference, you've got to put it back on. You go back and forth a few times, and finally you can hear something a little better here and a little better there. But when you get one of these records like this that is so much better, you drop the needle and you listen. And the first 5-6 notes, it's like when we put it on, my son and I, we looked at each other and it's like there's not even any. It's not even close. This is so much better. And what really gets my goat is when Michael Firmer, when he reviewed the EMI press, when he reviewed these pressings on his Analog Planet, he's got this, of course, because he's got about every record known to mankind. And he said he thought the new EMI one sounded better than he's got the Pro Use. He said it sounded better. I don't know what he was smoking at the time, but no, this is a lot better. Now, the Pink Floyd, the new one, which he said didn't sound quite as good as the original press, which I've had. I've had the original UK press, and I've had the Japanese SOPO 100, which is the first edition, which I always thought sounded so much fidelity on that one. And then I compared it to the new EMI one, and I thought the new EMI had a little bit more of that master tape sound to it. And so I settled on the new EMI press for the Wish You Were Here. Now we've got Nirvana, Nevermind. Of course, this is a rock record, and Mobile Fidelity has reissued this, and of course they're very expensive. But now I bought this a couple years ago on this Original Recordings group, and this is on that translucent blue vinyl, and it sounds really good, really good reissue. So I think something like that, boy, that's really good sounding record. Again, a couple really good sounding records. Van Morrison. And Rhino these are the Rhino reissues. These Van Morrison records are fantastic sounding records. Okay, Joni Mitchell. Again, I used to have this on the DCC, the Direct Compact Classics label, when it came out, and that was probably about the best sounding version of this record ever. And then I picked up the Court and Spark. This is Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark, and this is, to me, her best record of all of them. Except for her first one. Her first one is pretty good too. A lot of those audiophiles, I like Blue, but I find that Court and Spark has got all the really good songs on it, from the start to the front side and the back. You can just flip it over, play both sides. Great record. And now the Rhino reissue that's come out, the quality of the cover is better than the DCC. Everything about this is better than the DCC, especially the sound. It's better. And you can get them. I think I paid $20 for this when it first came out. They were on sale. You can still get them for $25 or so, and that's a great sounding record. Fantastic. Here's another good sounding record. It's a MoFi. It's a Kinks record. I like that one. And this is King Crimson. They've got a lot of different issues of this King Crimson record, and this is on Inner Knot. It's a 200-gram issue, and I really think it sounds really good on this Inner Knot pressing. Quincy Jones. Not really rock. It's more like a soul R&B type stuff he does on here. But all those early Quincy Jones records, Smackwater Jack and Body Heat and that, wow, phenomenal sounding records. Really, really good. That's why I play them, because it's just the sound is so good on them. Now, Elton John, of course, Yellow Brick Road. Even the first edition had great sound on it, and of course on the Japanese, it's even better. Elton John, this record too, Rocket Man's on it, great sounding record. Now this Genesis, Selling England by the Pound, as I said, it's on that 200 gram. I've never bought I've always had this, and I always thought it sounded fantastic. So I never did bother to get a Japanese first edition of this. But, you know, if I do, who knows what's going to happen, but I'm really happy with this sounding. That's a good sounding record right there. Okay, as I talked earlier, these new reissues by Neil Young on the ORS, Neil Young Archive stuff, they really sound good. The new reissues by Neil Young. And this Tubular Bells, wow, what a great sounding record this is. And we've got Jimi Hendrix, the new stuff that's come out, the last 3 LPs, especially this one here, People, Hell and Angels. What a great sounding record, and what great music on it. Unbelievable. Now here's a Fleetwood Mac Rumors. This is a reissue, and this was pressed in that Palace, Germany, and this always did have good sound on it, and it's even better now in this reissue. And this has been reissued on that 45 RPM by a couple. I think Analogue Productions has even reissued this. So there's some really good issues out there if you want to look. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That's a great sounding record, and of course, MoFi reissued Emerson, Lake and Palmer on a couple of the issues. Really, really good sounding records there now. A lot of course keyboards and all that. Now here's the Doors stuff. This is the Quality Records 45 RPM edition of these Doors, and that's the best ever. And then Rhino reissued the Doors stuff too. And you can get these Doors Rhino reissues for a lot less than, of course, this Quality Records stuff. And these sound really, really good. Better than the Japanese editions. And you can pick them up for a pretty good price. Okay, we got Doobie Brothers on the Warner Brother label. The first 2 or 3 Doobie Brother records, boy, they sound fantastic. Great sounding rock record right there. Now this is Dire Straits Brothers in Arms, and this is a new reissue. It's on a gatefold, and it's a 2 LP, and it's a half-speed master. Now there's a great sounding record right there. Here's a good one here, Curved Air Cut. And then again, this is on a Warner Brothers label, originally in '74. If you pick up even a domestic or a reissue, it hasn't been reissued, but that's why I've got the Japanese one here. Great, great sounding record, and it's a fantastic rock record right here too. Curved Air Cut. Leonard Cohen. This is on that Music on Vinyl. That's another one of those analog, kind of like audiophile quality. And they're from Europe, so they're a little bit pricier over here in the States. But this is a great record and great fidelity on this. Not so much a rock record, but just a great, great record. Great sound on it. There you go, Camel Mirage. This is another great record. It's originally on the Durham label. Great prog. It's kind of like that. A lot of good keyboards on here, great singing, good guitars, great sound on that record. David Bowie. I think this is probably about the best sounding David Bowie, because a lot of keyboards, a lot of piano, a lot of really good instrumental stuff on here. But yeah, this record sounds fantastic on the stereo, as do a lot of those old David Bowie records do. Now the Boston record, this is again on the Friday Music label. I used to have the CBS half-speed master of this, but I thought that the Boston, and of course I compared it to the Japanese edition too, and the Japanese first press, and this Boston comes out on the Friday Music. It holds its own against all those other ones, so Friday Music did a really good job on this Boston record, and that's a great, great, great sounding record. Of course, we get to the Black Sabbath stuff, and again, Rhino reissued all this stuff, and it sounds great. Good sounding, great sounding record, wow. If you don't familiar with this stuff, If you don't know what Black Sabbath is, I don't know where you've been, but wow, it's really good sound on that record. And now this one. This is fairly pricey on that music on vinyl. But this Alice in Chains, this MTV Unplugged, this is a You Are There record. This is a phenomenal sounding record. It sounds like you're in the audience. They did a fantastic job of this record. And so, hope that fulfilled your request. I know I didn't get into a lot about what labels to look for because it's just so involved. There's just so many labels and so many versions of the label that you have to look for that I couldn't get into the whole thing in an hour to bored everybody to death with all that stuff. But like I said, all you got to do is go on eBay, and if you're not sure if that's the first edition, just start searching, and you'll see people will say, yeah, this is the first edition, this is the first press. Keep on looking. There's another guy saying it's the first edition, first press, and then you'll say, yeah, well, there it is. Now I know what it is. It's on that old green, Decca. That was the first edition of that Stones record, not the blue Decca. It was the green Decca. That's the one you got to look for, and that's how you're going to learn that. That's the way I do it, and that's the easiest way I found to really quickly get an idea of what that first edition is. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please give me some feedback on it. I like answering questions, and if you've got any requests for things you might want me to answer, I am more than happy to do it. And thanks again. Bye-bye.